Thank you, Faizan. Good afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sontal. I'm the CEO of Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of JB Chemical and Pharmaceuticals Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the fourth quarter and financial year ended 2020. Before we begin, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's earnings conference call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings conference call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. I would now like to introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings call. We have with us Mr. Pranav Modi, President, Mr. Jay Mehta, President of Global Business of Russia, CIS and CRAMS, Mr. Nirav Modi, President of Global Business and Business Development, Mr. Vijay Bhatt, Vice President of Finance and Accounts, Mr. Mayur Mehta, Company Secretary and Legal Head. And I now request Mr. Vijay Bhatt to give his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anuj. Good evening, everyone. I thank you all for participating in company's earnings conference call. Let me start by summarizing the financials for the quarter of FY 2020. Our consolidated net revenue for the quarter was around 444 crores, which grew by about 6% on a year-on-year basis. Our operating EBITDA in the absolute terms for the quarter grew by 40% to approximately 92 crores. And operating EBITDA margin were around 20.67% as against 15.64% the same period last year. The company reported net profit of around 50 crores, which grew by 7.1% on a YOY basis. Our sales growth was driven by domestic formulation business, which grew by around 24% for the quarter on year-on-year basis. The export business got affected due to lockdown during March and declined by 6% on YOY basis. The EBITDA margin for the quarter improved against the same period last year, primarily due to better product mix and cost optimization. For the financial year ended 2020, our consolidated net revenue was around 1,775 crores, registering a growth of about 8% on a year-on-year basis. Absolute operating EBITDA reported a year-on-year growth of 23.4% at 377.5 crores, and EBITDA margin stood at about 21.2%. The net profit for the company increased to 272 crores, reporting a growth of 40.4% in a year-on-year basis. The company has opted for a lower rate of tax at 25.7 as per the notification 115 BAA of the Income Tax Act 1961. The company also made a provision of INR 100 million on account of payment of compensation ordered by the Supreme Court by the judgment dated 1st April 2020. With regard to COVID-19 situation, we would like to make a mention here that the company has experienced some slowdown in the sale of products in the acute segment due to the closure of clinics and use of hospitals largely for COVID-19 treatment. This is also a performance of the new product launches. Lastly, the Board of Directors has recommended a final dividend of 1 rupee for the year FY 20 in addition to already declared and paid interim dividend of 10% in March 2020. Now I request Mr. Pranav Modi to give his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay, and good evening, everyone. First, I hope that everyone is safe and healthy and continuing to work from wherever. So as you may already be aware about the controlling stake sale announcement by the promoters to KKR. So let me give you a brief overview about this transaction. Tau Investment Holdings, together with KKR, has agreed to acquire about 54% stake, which works out to about 41.7 million equity shares of JB Chemicals from the promoters at a price of 745 rupees. The deal will trigger an open offer for an additional 26% or roughly about 20 million equity shares of JB Chemicals. As per the share purchase agreement, KKR's aggregate shareholding in JB Chemicals would not exceed 64.9 of the voting shares, and the total foreign shareholding in JB Chemicals will not exceed 74% of the voting share capital. If the open offer is fully tendered, then KKR will own about 65% of the company, and it is capped at that level. In case the open offer is not fully tendered, the promoters will sell the deficit stake from its remaining 17% held by them at the same value of 745. This transaction is obviously subject to receipt of all applicable statutory approvals, including required statutory approvals, satisfaction of certain other conditions, conditions precedent in the share purchase agreement, and the terms and conditions mentioned in the public announcement. After the acquisition, the current promoters and the management intend to continue to be part of the growth journey of JB Chemicals, which was started last 3 years, and we believe that the potential of this company is far greater, and with a partner like KKR, we believe that it would be a little easier to get to our overall objective. With this said, we open up for questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, we would request you to rejoin the question queue. The first question is from the line of Naresh Vaswani from Samiksha Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, our MR productivity in FY20 was around 280,000. So now with KKR coming in, how many years do you expect this to reach to the industry average of 5 lakh? And is there a room to increase beyond that, or then we'll need to hire more people? That was the first question. And second is, we have been mentioning that CMO is one of our focus areas, but our growth in this segment hasn't picked up that well. So what could be the reason, and do you see now the growth picking up in that segment?
So I'll take the question on the MR productivity. As you know, that over the last 3 years, we have increased our headcount quite substantially from close to 600 to 700 people to about 2,000. So clearly, the whole idea of this expansion is to create adequate headroom for the MRs to grow. Domestic has been doing about an 18 to 20% growth in the last year. So I think this is the journey that we have started. It's still a long way to go. And clearly, there is enough of headroom for growth. So it has to get to industry average. But yes, since this is a process, it's going to take time.
And sir, on the CMO part?
So CMO, the business of the CMO was a little slow because Szilard, the J&J business into Russia, was a little lagging behind. They had a few challenges in the Russian market. So that being a large portion of our business, I've seen a bit of slowdown. However, we've added new customers. The other customers have grown. So again, it will continue to remain a focused business for us.
Okay, and lastly, if I may ask you, your revenue growth, if you see, has been growing well at around 10%. Now, with KKR coming in, how much more can it grow? If you can share some insights on that.
I have at this time it's still too early. We've not yet seen plans, so I can't comment on that at this time.
Okay. And sir, our top 4 brands which are there in domestic market, are we exporting them? And what is the sales number, if you can tell them?
We can get to those numbers separately later on, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kishan Gupta from CD Equisearch Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Bhagesh this side. So the first question is that what is the rationale for the promoter selling its stake?
So if you look over the last 2 years, we've done a fair bit of work and we've got the company to a particular level. Our belief is to take it from where we've got it to a significantly higher level. That's an opportunity where the risk-taking ability to kind of look at other options like mergers, acquisitions, etc. was something which partnering with someone like KKR, I believe that those options open up. So really, we believe that changing the growth trajectory of the company is really that the options were. Is the reason why we kind of looked at it. We got a decent price. We believe it's a fair price, and therefore, so a combination of both these were driving our decision.
And if you can talk a bit about, sir, what is the reason for the premium being so less, as in the issue price is 745. So what could be the reason for that? Because they are getting a controlling stake.
Yeah, so I think that's a price we've agreed to. You know the price has moved a lot based on news in the market. So this is something that we've agreed on and they've agreed to pay. So I don't know how to comment on that any further.
All right, sir. And so what sort of problems are you facing in terms of import of raw materials?
Nothing. Everything's getting back to normal.
All right, so no disruptions at the moment.
Nothing significant.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit your questions to 2 per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, we would request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Shiv Kumar from Blend AIF. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have 2 questions. The first question is, in the opening remarks, it was indicated that promoters and management would likely continue post the deal. So if you can give a bit more details, like who from the current management would continue? Would it be all the promoters, or would it be certain identified promoters? First is that, and second, if you can give me some quantification of the impact in various segments due to COVID in Q4.
So in terms of continuing, it will be Jai, Nirav and myself. So that we will continue to work because we've been actively involved. We would continue to participate going forward. In terms of impact on Q4, difficult to quantify, but kind of the lockdown happened around the 20th. So there was a bit of, again, there is, I don't know whether disruption or emergency purchases. There's a combination of both that happened. So net probably effect on the domestic is, I don't know which side of the coin you can take. In terms of exports, there was a last 10 days because of everything shut down. Exports were impacted for the last 10 days.
Any quantification, like maybe what in percentage terms, 10%, 15%?
That'd be about $2 to $3 million.
Okay. And you said,
Mr. Kumar, sorry to interrupt you.
Follow-up. Just a follow-up to the question which I have to continue on the same line. Sir, you mentioned yourself, Mr. Jay and Mr. Nirav will continue. Is there a timeline
pre-decided till which you will continue, or is it like open-ended and you might continue for next, let's say, 5-10 years?
At this time, it's open-ended. Nothing's been discussed. We'll see how things progress.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Neeraj Prakash from Nepean Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my questions. Just wanted some insight into the gross margin expansion for the quarter. It's been pretty significant year on year. If you can give me some color on that, and if, what is the sustainable level going forward? And also regards to raw material, what is your reliance on China, and are you sort of foreseeing any issues on that front?
Vijay, you're taking that?
Yeah, I will take that. The margin expansion is mainly driven by two factors. One, in case of domestic business, it is mainly because of the better product mix, which has helped the margin growth. On the export side also, it is primarily the dollar which has helped the foreign currency movement, which was more towards our benefit. And also in certain markets where the margins are better. So there also the product mix plus the foreign currency which has helped during this current financial year.
Okay, and
China part, I think, Pranabhai, you want to answer or maybe that?
Yeah, basically, again, China imports are very small, and as I said, disruption is minimal. Things are coming in from China. So I think actually managing India now is becoming a bigger challenge than all the imports. With COVID increasing, a lot of factories are looking a few positive cases coming up here and there. So I think it's a bit of a challenge more in terms of India because of the uncertainty.
Right. And just on that domestic product mix that you mentioned, what exactly is driving which specific products? If you can give some insight, or maybe within the type of formulation or therapeutic areas,
rather than
driving that growth.
Rather than a product, I think it is more on the therapeutic segment which we can talk. It is more on it is more driven because of the cardiac segment which is growing and doing quite well, and some of the focus products in the acute segment also. So that's how the margin expansion in domestic business is.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shriram Rathi from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity and congratulations on the deal. So, two questions. First of all, one on the domestic market. Of course, FY20 has been quite good for us. So, given the COVID and lockdown scenario, how do we see domestic business going forward in the first half and for the full year FY21? Can we continue similar growth trajectory, or there could be some?
So, Shriram, you've seen the projections which these guys have given. The CD guys, the RX guys have given. So they are projecting a 1 to 2% growth in the overall pharma market, with the acute obviously more impacted. These kind of sales which is lost in the first 2-3 months, you're never going to be able to catch up in your acute business. That's a business that is gone. So clearly there is a challenge in terms of market. Last year market grew by 10 to 12% overall, and in that we showed a growth which is higher. So our whole thing is whatever the market's growing, we need to try and do better than that. But other than that, with this uncertainty, the ability of medical representative to go and meet the doctors, all those challenges, etc., it's difficult to say. We just take it a month at a time.
Okay, got it. And secondly, sir, on the deal side, since the measures will continue and we will be having around 17% stake provided to open up project subscribe. And sir, will there be any kind of lock-in period for the remaining stake for the promoters, or
no? Nothing.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Bhavnani from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. We're trying to develop a strategic sense of the company's future. It may be different from the past. You all have done a great job in the last few years, yet you all have chosen to invite the KKR. KKR is a reputed firm, but could you give us a sense of their understanding of the pharma sector and what is it that specifically you think they can provide? You all have a reputation for good governance, so this is not something I'm sure that is a requirement in your case. So it has to be strategic, and if you can give us some sense of the strategic thinking, that will help us understand and appreciate why you chose to do this.
So basically, in terms of, at least in India, they've had Gland Pharma. I think they've got some of the hospitals which they're looking at, and again, they seem to be capable of doing it. They've given us a good price. That's something that was acceptable to us. So I guess still the whole existing management team, whichever is there, will continue. I'm saying operational team, other than us, will continue. So things, according to me, would continue to move on in that direction, because it's eventually the team that will deliver, and it's probably the same team that's going to work and move this forward, take this forward. And other than that, I don't think I really don't know how to comment on KKR's direct role in this.
I appreciate that. Maybe my question, if I rephrase it, it'll help you understand what we're trying to understand. I can imagine a few scenarios. KKR may have the ability to help you in license products from relationships that you don't have, that they do have, or they may give you an opportunity to supply formulations or API to companies that they understand and they know well, where they have investments already. Are there opportunities of that nature?
It's all of the above. So we've not got into any specific plan where they've given us a plan and we said, yeah, this makes sense, let's go ahead and do it together. There's no specific plan, but it should be all of the above.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saket Bansal from Opulent Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Hello.
Mr. Bansal, the audio is not clear. Please repeat your question.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
No, sir, it's breaking.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's audible.
Now it's audible. Sir, I have a question on other income for the quarter. Why is it so low compared to the other quarters? What were the changes made during the quarter? Plus, can you explain me about the comprehensive income breakup? There is some changes. It seems that the high comprehensive income also. Explain me what is that. Also, about the product like Cilacar, Nicardia, and Metrogyl. This product has been an outstanding product for you, and that has governed growth in the whole year. How do you think this will move? Because they are already at a very high base right now.
Okay, so on your first two parts of your other income and other comprehensive income, I will just take it. The other income in the current quarter, Q4, is mainly impacted because of the March month bond market impact due to the COVID situation, where all of a sudden this pandemic became very serious in India, and then they announced the lockdown. So the bond market reacted it very negatively, and that's where the yield sharply corrected. So this was a mark-to-market loss in the NAV of the debt mutual fund which company held, and which has got reflected. Of course, it was a very short lived. In the very first week of April, it got reinstated, but because 31st was the day when the books are closed, so that got reflected. The other comprehensive income is also primarily because of the currency fluctuation. So on a consolidation, when we do the subsidiaries books into a local currency, from local currency to INR, there was a good amount of currency depreciation in both the subsidiaries currency vis-a-vis over currency. And GSES, as per the accounting presentations requirement, it is called the foreign currency translation reserve, which needs to be reflected under the OC guide. So primarily that is the factor which got reflected in that. Both are basically a mark-to-market impact and not the realized.
Got it.
Yeah. On the product, maybe.
Yeah, on the products, there's still enough of opportunity for many of these products. We've introduced the line extensions, etc. So we believe, yes, that there are growth opportunities there, but eventually a lot will depend on how this market moves, what happens in terms of doctors' availability, patients' availability, all those other challenges. So difficult to forecast at this time. We just take it a day at a time or a month at a time.
Did we take a price hike in Metrogyl?
That is the standard WPI increase that was granted by government, that 2.8% or whatever. Yeah, that price increase is taken.
There was a price of 50%.
Yeah, that was implemented in the month of December.
That was implemented in the month of. Sir, I just have one question.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Bansal. May we request that you please rejoin the question queue?
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sunil Kothari from Unity.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Pranay team, congratulations for a good set of numbers during last year, and as always, you created a good value or right value when you sold Russian business, and currently also I think we got reasonable good value. My question is basically we are selling out, but promoter, as rightly on your opening remarks, you said that we want to remain for 17% remaining stake also you want to keep. So you will be an operational team. You will be there. Existing team will operate this.
No, we are not in the operational team. We'll be in the support team. We will help them. We will guide them. We will give our inputs, but eventually they would be the ones who would be taking the final calls.
All right. And we have invested during last 3-4 years around 350-400 crores in fixed assets and new capacity creation. In your opinion, what type of utilization we have got from those investment, and remaining how far better we can do from those existing ability which we added during last 3-4 years?
If you look at last year, let's say our today lozenge capacity, we'd probably have reached about after the expansion, about a 50% capacity utilization we would have reached in the lozenges. On the tablet side also, we would, that new plant, that entire, now that we'll get permissions, that will be available for additional business. And similarly with the ointment. So there is adequate capacity, and if you're going to look at CMO business, you can't go to a customer and saying, okay, I'll set up a facility and come. You need to have spare capacity, and that's really what we've done. As the CMO business begins to grow, that capacity utilization will improve.
Mm-hmm. And sir, my last question is, do you feel with KKR support and KKR's ownership, JB Chemical do reasonably better than what we were doing during last 4-5 years?
I don't know the answer that. We'll talk about that question after some time.
Sure. Thanks. Wish you good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Shah from OHM Portfolio. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you. Could we see now CEO, CMD appointments by KKR?
There is a possibility, yes.
Okay. And what about the management compensation, which we have seen till now? Does that continue or still?
Too early to say. This deal just happened on Friday last. So I'm sure they are also going to work and decide, get into details, review all the things, and take a call. So too early to comment on any of that.
I see. And why is it that the dividend payout ratio has actually fallen this year? Because I think traditionally we have given higher dividend payout.
So in March we paid a dividend which was reasonably high, 10 rupees, that interim dividend. So when we decided to give this dividend, we said at least let's maintain a track record of dividend dividend paying company. So that time we've already, I think it was about almost close to 40% dividend payout ratio, which was in terms of our policy we are around the 30-35%. So just in order to maintain that 100% track record, we decided to give a nominal dividend this year.
Okay, but you could have actually given more dividends. So is there any cash utilization plan with KKR coming on board, or
too early again? I'm too early to comment on any of that.
Okay. And any comment on the June quarter? How is the June quarter till now?
Nothing. No comments.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashok Ajmera from Ajcon Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Pranav bhai and Nirav bhai, good afternoon. Yeah, most of the questions have already been covered, by analyst colleagues. I would only like to know, just have a little idea of the future of the company, that what could have been the major bottlenecks in spite of such a good, greatly corporate governed company, very efficient management and very good control on the products and recent expansions. What could have been the bottlenecks for Modi's to continue expanding this company and increasing the business, which can be removed by now KKR? I mean, what do you feel KKR will put in more on the plate, on the table?
No, it's a little more aggressive. Their contacts, their abilities to source products. So all of those which we spoke a little earlier. So all of it is where we believe that they can add value, and that should help the company going forward.
It's more as a money power, you feel?
Yeah, the ability to take risks also, probably, yes.
Also, the global network and experience will add a lot of value in the growth of JB Chemicals globally and expansion into newer markets and territories. They know how to run a pharma company. They've done it in the past, so I think they have the experience and the ability.
All right. And my second question, I don't know whether it is appropriate or this kind of huge cash flow coming in the hands of Modi's. Is there any? I mean, what could be the plan for you all to go for what kind of business or acquisitions? Or
Too early to state anything.
Pardon?
Too early to comment on that.
Okay. No, I understand. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sarvesh Gupta from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and congratulations on the announced deal. First question is, as you mentioned that in this quarter we are looking at 1-2% industry-wide growth in the domestic segment. But since your products are being exported everywhere, if you could help us give a sense of, how similar challenges of, MRs or the sale in the acute therapy drugs, etc., is panning out in your export geography. If you can give us some geography-wise sense of how things are outside of India.
Jay, you want to take that for Russia? South Africa?
So for South Africa and other markets, South Africa, the private business and the tender market is growing. The tender is also growing well for us, and we are showing good growth in the products that we have. Similarly, for the ROW semi-regulated markets, because of the COVID, logistically we had some issues end of March, but otherwise the demand is there for our products across all the geographies. So it's a question of just supplying to our customers. Also, given the lockdown, we had some constraints on the manufacturing front in terms of the manpower. But otherwise, demand continues to remain.
we'll supply once the lockdown challenges are over.
Yeah, this applies for even the Russia-CIS region. There is still good demand for in the marketplace, only because of the issues around the supplies that we were kind of constrained in the period of March.
So you are not seeing as much impact in outside of India as you are seeing in India.
I think the demand is there. US also, the demand is there, for pricing pressure continues in all markets, given the nature of the commodity of the business. But overall demand is there. It's just logistics and supply constraint.
Yeah, as much pressure outside of India as you are seeing in India.
Yeah, not much.
Okay. And this 17% stake which is... This is my second question only. I was saying that this 17% stake, I understand that this is an open thing, post the open offer, but this stake eventually will get sold. Is that a fair understanding that you would do an offer for sale to completely exit now that you will anyways exit the majority control?
Too early to say anything at this time. It'll all just depend on whatever is how things turn out.
Okay. Congratulations again for the deal and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil Upadhyay from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon and congratulations on the deal and good numbers in this quarter. Sir, two questions. One is on the KKR. In the opening remarks, you said that probably they can provide us, or probably what they bring to the table is on the inorganic opportunities and being aggressive. So, is there something which you are looking at? And because the scenario is also that many of the smaller players are getting impacted. So, is there anything which...
Too early to comment at this time. As I said, it's only been 3 days. I guess all these plans, we will spend time, we will understand, we will get involved. But too early to say anything at this time.
Okay, and lastly, on the domestic business, I think recently we launched a new product, Azeledyne.
Yeah.
If you can just help me, is it a similar first mover advantage kind of a product or commoditized kind of a product? Or?
So there would be at least 10 companies who launch the product in the market. That happens with all product launches. So we will be one of the 10 people who introduce this product.
Okay, but do you feel it has...
it has huge potential. Yeah, huge potential. That's where we believe. And we fight it out in the marketplace.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Neelam Punjabi from Perpetuity Ventures. Please go ahead.
Thank you for taking my question. So my first question is on the margin profile. So 3 to 5 years out, what is the margin profile that our business is capable of? And second question is related to risk to the Zantac franchise, given it has been withdrawn in the US. So what is the kind of risk mitigation strategy that we are adopting?
On the margin 5 years hence, I think it's very difficult for anyone to say anything at this time. Even managing COVID, the kind of price increases that are happening, companies struggling to deliver. So I think 3 years, 5 years, I don't have that capability or capacity to suggest what will happen. Obviously, as a company, we will continue to look at products where we can sustain margins and improve margins as we go ahead. But beyond that, I can't comment on anything. On the Rantac side, yes, the issue of NDMA is there. counter to NDMA, and if you look at all those press articles, there are enough of scientific articles over the last 30 years and 40 years since the product has been in the market in terms of the safety profile that this product offers. So clearly, yes, NDMA, when they say that if at whatever levels, if so much someone takes a medicine for 70 years continuously, 1 out of 1 lakh patient has the probability of generating cancer. Now, those kind of numbers, if we have to try and bring it into India, I think half of all products would get out of the market. You know, the controversy has started with metformin now. It was for valsartan. So again, depends on what the government takes a view. But as far as valsartan and losartan, they've not done any changes, or they're not measuring NDMA in the product. Our hope is that they look at the safety data of the product and allow us to continue doing what we are doing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Mehta from Vallum Capital. Please go ahead.
So the first question I wanted to understand, so we have been working towards doing some filings for the US business. So could you give us an understanding of, do we have any plans to launching any product in the US this year?
Yeah. So one of the products that we got approval for, we plan to launch it.
Okay.
So I think one product a year is what we can expect.
Understood. And the second question I have is, could you please let us know the MR spend as it stands today, and how much for Chronic and how much for acute?
We have about MRs is about 1,600, around the 1,600 to around that much, and along with them the managers and the layers above, a little over 2,000 people.
Okay, and the segregation between chronic and acute, would that be possible, sir?
In acute, okay, so I'm talking about MR. And in chronic, I would have close to about 650, and in acute would be that about 900, around 900.
Okay, understood, sir. That's it. Thank you very much, and congratulations on the deal.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Bhavnani from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. So just 2 questions. One is, in case of Metrogyl, we had a price hike. So in the FY20 numbers, how many months of price hike is already reflected?
So the price hike, some of it took place in January, some product took place in February. So it would be barely be about on an average 1.5 to 2 months.
Okay. And sir, in case of your interview on TV on business media channel when the deal was announced along with Mr. Nair alluded to newer therapeutic segments, and one of them was respiratory. So is it fair to assume that any such newer segment that you would plan to enter, is it possible this year?
I would assume that they would be looking at a lot of newer segments, but too early for me to comment on that, please.
Sure. And lastly, while you mentioned that KKR might bring its own management team, you and rest of the brother and cousins would continue to advise them throughout this. So
I support whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the right one is.
But fair to assume that you will also retain a board seat till the extent you have certain say?
Yeah, that is correct.
Sure. Thank you. I'll come back in the queue.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajat Sethia from Riddhi Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. I just wanted to check what is the total sales in the domestic focus brand that we did in the last year?
I would not have the number of hand, but I don't know at this time.
Sure. And only in USA generic export that we do, I think last year in 2019 we had done 180 crores, but in this year we did 140 crores. Is it the decline entirely because of lockdown issues, or is there a decline in the sales itself?
So we had a supply constraint from one of our API suppliers for one of the Indians, and hence some of the sales did not happen. That was a major reason. But at the same time, there is also slight pricing pressure in the US. And third is obviously the lockdown which started ending now.
How much did we lose because of API issue as well as the lockdown issue?
No, we are not disclosing them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dheeraj Sachdeva from Roha Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just wanted to know the incentive of the management to run the business with a residual 17% stake versus majority control earlier, versus managing money that is received, and taking care of that money which is received from KKR, or running a new business or creating a new business.
Time will tell. I don't know. Be very upfront and frank. We will support them. We'll understand the business plan. We'll understand what the long-term thinking is, and then decide what is appropriate for the family.
No, I agree. But from a longevity perspective, in the interest of investors, we just want to know what is the incentive to continue running the business with that minority stake.
As long as the business plans look interesting, as long as the business plans look attractive, and we believe that the opportunity they would be able to get a growth which is better than what we've been able to do, that automatically becomes an incentive to hold back, right?
Yeah, but as opposed to focusing on the money that is being received to create a new venture.
So I guess we'll eventually do an evaluation and decide what works better for the family. So that's what I'm saying. It's a little early to kind of say anything that unless we have all the options clearly laid out on the table, probably difficult for us to reach any conclusions at this time. If we kept an option open, that's about it at this time.
Okay, fine. My best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sapna Jhawar from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking my question. So in the past few quarters, we've taken a lot of price hikes for our major products, and we've actually done a lot of work on the MR front, focusing on these products, hence driving the sales. So after all these exercises now, can we say that our pricing is at par with the competitors, or is there still more scope for them to grow from here and take more price hikes eventually?
I think as a company, one of our strategies, we've never been price leaders in any of the segments, even if we are leaders in terms of revenues. So we believe that we need to be reasonably priced. Now, with the decontrolled products, yes, you have the option to increase the price, but there is a price at which it begins to tip in the negative direction. So again, you look at it each product to product, and who are the competition, what's the cost of therapy, what's the cost of treatment, and then calls are taken. So if there is an opportunity to increase, yes, we will try and increase. If there is no opportunity to increase, we will not do it. If we can take 2%, 3%, 5%, we'll do that. So it's difficult to give a generic answer to that. With the costs increasing the way they are over the last 1 quarter, obviously we'll have to look at everything and then take what is again appropriate for the company.
Sure. And also, beyond our four major products that we have in the domestic market that continues to drive majority of our growth, which are the other therapies or products that we're now looking to recreate, just like a Cilacar or a Nicardia? Do we have that visibility?
Yeah. So if you look at in each of the divisions, today we've introduced some new products. And with the Cilacar division, we've introduced a Myatan, which is Isomsartan. With Nicardia, we've now introduced Azolidipine, which is there. So we will continue to keep adding products in each of these divisions. These anchor brands give us the ability and the time to be able to and the relationship to go out and start these other products. So the whole idea of the divisionalization, which we started 3 years back, was this giving us a headroom to be able to grow, and that has to now pan out.
Sure. And we would not require any more capabilities to grow into these new therapies or products. I mean, we have in-house all the capabilities.
Yeah. Capabilities are there. Now the question is tomorrow, if I believe that a pediatric division makes sense to do, I'd probably carve out the pediatric products and put it into a separate division and try and grow that. So those kind of opportunities is all work in progress. When we believe we've reached a particular strength and a particular level, those kind of opportunities we will do and grow, and that gives us ability to add newer products again into the basket.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anubhav Mukherjee from Prescient Capital. Please go ahead.
Sir, on the ranitidine issue, has there been any queries or any request for any data or testing from DCGI? Yes.
Yeah, nothing specific.
Okay, thanks. That was all my.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saket Bansal from Opulent Investment Advisor. Please go ahead.
Sir, you said that cost is increasing in last quarter, whereas most of the pharma companies have guided that most of the variable cost has gone out. So can you explain why the cost for your company has been?
I'm talking about material cost.
Okay. And how about the other costs? The variable part?
With MRs working from home, their allowances reduced, your sample cost reduces, the promotional costs have obviously come down. But the cost of material is something that our cost of operations, when you run a plant and a factory at close to, it starts off with 40-50% capacity utilization, obviously the costs will be higher. So when I say costs going up, I'm referring to these kind of costs. Not some of the things like the MR working from home and probably lower promotional spend, etc.
So do you think that the margin, at least you will be where you are currently, or there can be a dip going forward?
It should probably be where we are. So around, there will be a plus minus. I think that anyway, let's wait for the June numbers to come out.
Okay. And how do you see for the whole year? Would it be
too early? They're not projecting anything for the future.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Naresh Vaswani from Sameeksha Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask a question in terms of how well insulated we are in terms of price caps or price erosion, considering we are well diversified compared to other companies. So we had mentioned somewhere in the annual report that in the domestic formulation around 31-32% of the sales come under this price caps. So how do you see this number going forward?
No, so eventually the government is looking at a new NLEM list, which is the essential product list. And what comes out of that and how it impacts that's for anyone, difficult for any one of us to comment on at this time. So at the way it is currently, it is what it is. There is, and our focus is on trying to grow products which are outside price control, which have good headroom for growth. So we continue to do that. But what comes in the new NLEM list, etc., that would be difficult for us to predict anything at this time.
but the government's intention is to increase that list, right?
I don't think it's necessarily increased, but they will keep adding, deleting, changing it a little bit. So that this is a sensitive topic. So
right.
It's important. So it's again it's too early for us to even comment because there's no real proposals that have been still put in place or any such thing.
Okay, so that's it.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abdul Puranwala from Anand Rathi. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. A couple of questions from my end regarding to the stake sale. So, any timeline do we have in mind by which the entire stake sale would finish?
So based on the regulatory requirements, the expectation is about a month and a half to 2 months because of whatever regulatory requirements. So we would hope that, and within that time, the open offer also could be completed. Anything between 2 to 3 months.
Sure, sir. And so the second question is regarding to the promoter holding. So the way the deal is structured, my guess is, if the open offer doesn't come into place, the way it has to be, that is a 26%, has to be taken from the public. If that doesn't happen, then would it also result to a promoter, fully divesting the stake?
Theoretically, yes.
Okay, sure. That would be all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shiva Kumar from Blend Fund. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. 2 questions.
Yeah.
One is there a non-compete agreement that you have signed in view of this deal?
Yes, there is a non-compete.
Okay. And second, you mentioned about NLEM list coming. Is there a tentative timeline by which the government is expected to release this new list?
Don't have information to be sure when that will come. At least I don't have that information. I'm sure there is something, but I don't have that.
Okay, but latest by the end of this calendar year one can expect, is it?
It's speculation. I don't know. Seriously don't know.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anand Bhavnani from Unifi Capital. Please go ahead.
All questions answered.
Thank you, Anand.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Pranav Modi for closing comments.
No, thank you very much, everyone, for the interest that you have shown in the company. It's been a journey for the family, and appreciate all the support and help that you guys have always given us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On behalf of JB Chemicals and Pharmaceuticals, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines.